Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Tuesday market review. Hope everyone had a good weekend. If you didn't know already, I do these every Tuesday, so make sure you drop a subscribe and on my channel every Tuesday as we set out a plan for the week ahead and talk about the general outlook for the market, the higher time frame, potential events for the week, along with some altcoin setups that I'm eyeing, thoughts on BTC and ETH. You can check out links to socials below, so let's get into it. So starting off, a little update on my BTC position. So if you're a regular to these Tuesday market reviews, you know we're running a weekly or daily TWAP at the moment. I'm buying BTC every day, 11:30 p.m. UTC every day until the end of August. And when we get towards the end of August, I'll consider the spot entry and whether I want to continue buying into September and Q4 or whether we call that a trade and we just ride it out for continuation into Q4. But overall, 10-week lead on the M2 still looks great against Bitcoin, something I've been paying close attention to since probably January 2024, maybe even May 2024. So a while now I've been taking a look at the M2, and we've been paired to the M2 for the basically the whole cycle since our bottom on January 23, and even going all the way back to December 2022. So we can see the 10-week lead is still looking great, with the current top for the M2 being around the 7th of September as of right now. That was the latest top for the M2, a 10-week lead, so that puts us around September the 7th for a top, which could mark definitely a top in Bitcoin going into the end of Q3 before maybe seeing a sell-off and going into Q4. Overall, things are looking positive on the side of the M2. We also look at the PI cycle. This has been a very good indicator and has been very consistent about marking cycle tops on Bitcoin. Marked the 2014 top, the 2018 top, and also the 2021 cycle top. It was very consistent at marking those tops, and we can see that price is yet to cross the 350-day MA and the ×2 one, right? This has been a point at which Bitcoin will always go into this final sort of bullish period of the cycle, and following the cross of that 350 daily MA, we see a cycle top. So we're yet to actually break through that then. And if we do, then we can start to consider some potential cycle top signals and can scout out for potential like long-term swing short entries. So while I'm on topic of the higher time frame, quickly, if you want to find out more on the higher time frame and my higher time frame thoughts, you can check out the most recent higher time frame thoughts video. I cover this again, talking back to the PI cycle. It aligns with the Bitcoin power law corridor, and we're yet to see what I think is this parabolic expansion from Bitcoin, and what we see every cycle is this break above the fair value of Bitcoin. The power law corridor, I can expect Bitcoin to trade to at least 200k this cycle and see some sort of parabolic increase where we get this break from the fair value, which we get every cycle, this consolidation below the fair value, followed by a break from fair value and a reset back towards that support area, and eventually always deviating at least 57% back below the fair value for a bear market. Looking at topping from October onwards, and that is the plan for the Bitcoin spot position. So now, just to let you guys know, we have a few important data events this week, a few inflation events. We got the FOMC tomorrow at 7 p.m. for me. If you go to the Forex Factory, it will put it into your time zone as long as you select what time zone you're in. And then going on to Thursday, we have PCE. And then on Friday, we have ISM manufacturing PMI, and also unemployment rate and non-farm employment change. So quite a lot of data events this week to be aware of, especially with the strength we're seeing from the dollar at the moment. It would be good to have some positive news for risk assets and some poor data, and that the dollar would react badly off the back of. If we take a look at the dollar, it is actually bouncing right now back towards this $100 region, which is a big area. Ideally, with this bounce, we can see a bearish rejection into 100. I think I kind of want to see something similar to prior cycles back in May 2017, May 2020. Ideally, Bitcoin, the dollar, can put in a rejection towards this $100 region, and we can see a similar thing as we have done in prior cycles if we pair this against Bitcoin. Yeah, if we roughly pair the dollar against Bitcoin, we can see every time the dollar loses this $100 region, we see a nice rally from Bitcoin, which we have already done so, right? and it sort of marked that parabolic increase. As long as we continue to trade under 100, especially with data events we got this week, if it turns out that data is bearish for the dollar, inflation continues to increase, right, we should see the dollar react poorly to these numbers, and ideally risk assets can continue to trade much higher going into the end of Q3 and into Q4. So we really need to pay attention to these data events this week, and depending how the dollar reacts around this $100 region could be very effective on crypto markets and risk assets in general. If news comes out and it's quite positive for the dollar and for the US economy and quite poor for risk assets, then we have to consider the fact that maybe the market is in for some bearish trend going into August and September. So worth keeping an eye on these events and notice when they are arising, because we're probably going to see some volatility around them as well. Right, to quickly discuss the market on Bitcoin and my outlook for the week. Overall, looking pretty good. Really nice reclaim off that flush last week, Friday last week, Thursday, Friday last week. Had the nice flush back towards this developing monthly VWAP. Overall, this daily consolidation for now, like I said, depending on the data events this week, I expect this consolidation to lead to further upside. I see no reason why it's any different to what we've done before. We're just sort of compressing, flagging before we leg up again. Unless data is very poor this week for risk assets, I don't expect us to break down again. If we look at historical, or if we look at the past 3 FOMC events we've had this year, we've had the same sort of price action. We bottomed into Monday, bounced into Tuesday, bounced into FOMC, and then eventually sold off again. Again here, bottomed into Monday, Tuesday, bounced into FOMC, eventually sold off after FOMC. And then again here, bottomed into Monday, Tuesday, bounced into FOMC, eventually sold off following FOMC. So sort of expecting a similar thing right now, and personally looking to play longs today and tomorrow into FOMC. So we've got that same thing, bottomed into Monday, Tuesday, bouncing, and look to rally into sort of Wednesday. Maybe not as high as 121k, but at least looking at trying to take these highs right now. I think we should, since we've taken the sell side liquidity, we should look at trying to take the buy side liquidity above. We backfilled the weekend gap, classic weekend gap, textbook price action for a Monday, Tuesday. Had that rally over the weekend since the Friday close. The weekly opened, we backfilled the weekend gap, and we can see how that we've basically bounced since then. Pretty nice reclaim coming in right now on Bitcoin. Nice low time frame price action reclaim. Like I said, I think we can look at targeting much higher this week, maybe back towards 120k plus. Had quite a lot of aggressive positioning on Bitcoin this morning into 119, which we've taken out, and we can see some again aggressive positioning into the lows. Some shorts got and entered into the lows and potentially getting taken out here. We can see as we push up quite a decent chunk of OI getting taken off, so a good chance that some shorts are closing out that we're shorting into the lows. Price remains in range. Doesn't mean we can't sort of like deviate either side of this range. We can see this is a 2-week composite profile, and you can see how efficient the balance is right now. Very textbook balance from Bitcoin, and I think if we do see acceptance this week above 119.5, above that composite value or high, then maybe we can look for continuation depending on the data. Overall, I think we are going to look at taking this liquidity above this week, above here, above here, above here, and then into FOMC, depending on FOMC, whether we see some continuation. Look, already we can see really nice reclaim and moving up. Probably a good chance we're going to take all of the liquidity much higher this week. Talking about ETH now, ETH looks really good. I won't go too deep into the reasons for why I think ETH can move up, but overall, this area previously has been very difficult for ETH, this 2024 and 2021 value high. We're definitely seeing some signs of acceptance above here and a strong bounce so far. Ideally, ETH continues to hold 3,600, and there's a good chance that we can trade to 4,100 this month, or going into August, next month. Maybe we can do some sort of like three drive into there, and then if that doesn't top us out, then ETH is going to continue to grind up. Overall, we've been stuck within this 2021 balance since basically back in 2022, and 3 times now, if you want to include that 2022 rejection. 4 times we failed to move into a trending environment again. If ETH can confirm this break from balance right now and break from this 2024 value high and 2021 value high, I expect a very aggressive trend from ETH going into Q4 and targeting fresh all-time highs. And as long as we can hold 3,600 to 3,500, I think ETH can move into that really aggressive trend and move into a trending environment for once. It just continues to flip levels, right? You can see resistance, and then it just flips it, and it legs up, right? Again here, resistance, flips it, and continues to leg up. It's just flipping any resistance right now for support very easily, and continues to trade much higher. Dominance remains on support, which is why altcoins have been suffering lately. I discussed this last week. Can't even remember the exact outlook I gave last week, but gave the warning that dominance was on support and altcoins would probably suffer a little bit, which they have done over the past week. I'm yet to get filled on some spot bids that I have stacked below, but I'm going to leave them open for now, just in the event that, you know, dominance does bounce here and the 60% continues to hold, and let's say Bitcoin goes back down towards range lows, back down here towards like range lows and towards that composite value area low. There's a good chance that the altcoins will continue to suffer. If dominance did finally lose this 60% region and lose this long-term trend, right? This trend on dominance now has been lasting for over 1,000 days. If dominance did lose 60% and deviate under here, you could see a very similar move to back in 2021, where altcoins went on that crazy basically alt season, people were calling it, right? But we could see a very similar thing. But for now, I think Bitcoin remains to be in control of the market, and we continue to buy Bitcoin spot, as I don't think it's finished with its move to the upside just yet. Right, to round it up and quickly discuss some altcoins I'm looking at this week. Hype looks really good. Nice 4-hour reclaim on Hype right now. Good deviation, reclaim, and potential breakout. Pretty sure this is going to continue to leg up this week. I'm looking at a move probably back towards $50, and at least targeting again some of this liquidity higher, and maybe even fresh all-time high. IP, this is looking really nice. I like these coins that are quite new to the market, and they technically have like no upside limit, right? Because there's complete price discovery above. There's no history here. So these shiny new coins like to get a bid, right? Hype's a good example of that. You know, since it sort of broke the all-time high, it's just been kind of, there's technically no price targets. Obviously market cap, you got to take that into consideration. In terms of like people's mindsets, there's technically no like limit to where price can go, really, right? So there's like infinite upside in sort of quotation marks. If IP does get a move back down towards and under $5, that looks like a really good opportunity to be a buyer. WOG, I kind of like this, although I'm waiting for a reclaim back above 0.45. Good retest here in towards this big demand area and high volume node point of control. If WOG can reclaim here, then good chance we can look for a position. Bitcoin is a very similar thing right now. Retesting swept liquidity, retesting daily demand and high volume node point of control. If it can reclaim 1.2, pretty sure we look at taking a long and we target these highs and back towards 1.5. SPX, I've been trying to chase this for a while now. Originally I had my limits at 1.597. They got front run twice, and now I have limits at 182. That looks like a good area to be a SPX longer, and targeting a 2.97. I'll continue to try and chase this with a limit. I think that's covered everything for this week's market review. Overall, just still looking to day trade altcoins rather than swing them. I think it continues to be a trader's market, especially meanwhile Bitcoin is in range, right? We're in a 2-week balance. Dominance is on support. There's not too much reason to be trying to massively swing things right now and buy spot. Set limits for spot buys below on altcoins, and wait for the next range break to come for Bitcoin. Because once this breakout does happen on Bitcoin, once we see this sort of daily and 4-hour breakout, you know, there's a good chance this is going to leg up to like 125 to 130k, and this is a period where altcoins get really bullish again. Remember to keep an eye on the data events this week. Keep an eye on the dollar. Going to be really important to see how the dollar reacts around this $100 region. And yeah, check out the socials in the link below. Discord signups are open. Going to be doing a Friday market review again this week on my channel, and I'll be streaming later today. If you want to join, then come and check. Thanks everyone. See you next week.